Hi, friends. Good morning. Welcome back to Text. The topic that we are going to handle today is remote communication skills. People may be wondering what remote communication skills, what it means. We have heard about communication skills. That itself is a kind of a big issues for many of us, even including me. Communication skill doesn't mean that you have a fluency in the language, you can communicate very well. No, even a person who has got a beautiful language, mastery over the vocabulary, it doesn't mean that he can be a very good communicator. Communication skills needs to be nurtured and practiced and perfected. So now, what do you mean by remote communication skills? If you have listened to the previous live discussion, panel discussion that we had, we were talking about the virtual hiring, remote communication skills also. Anup was handling that. He was also mentioning about remote communication skills. So, what do you mean by communication skills? What does that word communication mean? Is that the word by word that you talk reaches the other person? Or what do you mean by that skill aspect? What is the composition of communication skill? See, most of the time we always think that just if you're able to communicate, you have a mastery over a language, you are a better communicator. No, it never happens that way. I'll tell you why. So, what do you mean by then communication? Is it's not only a mastery on the language, then what it is meant? Communication skill, if you divide that into a kind of a pie chart, word by word, what you talk reaches the other person just 7%. Is that so shocking? Should be. Just 7%. See, what happens in the communication skill? In the process of communication, let's talk about the process of communication. You have some idea and you want that to be transferred to the other person. Whatever you have needs to be transferred. The information from one person getting transferred to the other person, and the receipt of the information from the other end means that communication has reached the person the way you wanted to communicate the information, and you can verify it by means of asking the person, did you understand? So the purpose of communication is transfer of information, that's all, nothing else. So is that only a language issue, a mastery over a language, you can communicate much better? Mastery is important. Doesn't mean that mastery over a language is not important. A mastery of the language is more important. But is that the criterion for any communication skill? If you ask me, no. The research says verbal and non-verbal. There are two parts of communication skills. One is called verbal communication, the other one is called non-verbal communication. The verbal communication is just 7%. In 100, it is just a matter of 7%. All other things are non-verbal communication. 93% is non-verbal communication. The way you speak, the way your body speaks, the language tone that you use, the intonation you use, all those things are of more weightage than the verbal, which is of just 7%. What it is 93%, the remaining 93%, whatever I have spoken to you, can be divided into two. One is body language, the other one is paralinguistics. What do you mean by paralinguistics? Body language we know. What do you mean by paralinguistics? See, when you're talking, you have a kind of a pace. A kind of a pace, a kind of an intonation. You have an intonation. You can't. See, for example, if I am going on talking like this, I want to talk about something which is called communication skills. I am very sure none of you would see this video hereafter. None. It will be boring. It will be so monotonous. There is no intonation in it. You need to know which word needs to be stressed. When I want to say, for example, even the meaning gets changed when the stress goes from one word to the other word. For example, I want you to speak. When I say I want you to speak, I am not very happy you are not talking. So I want you to speak now. Come on, speak. I want you to speak. I don't want others to speak. I don't want me speaking for a long time. But what I want here, I want you to speak. So the stress on the word you changes the meaning. Now let's see this way. I want you to speak. I want you to speak. When I give an emphasis to the word speak, that changes the total meaning. You are not speaking now, and I want you to speak now. Maybe when an interrogation is going on, a police officer is interrogating somebody else, a person, a convict, and he is not speaking at all. And the way he says, the emphasis will be the word speak. Now I want you to speak. So the change of meaning when you emphasize a certain word. Now let's take it the other way. I want you to speak. It's I who want you to speak. The emphasis on I. I'm telling you, speak now. So the change of meaning. So intonation, the way you emphasize, the way you take, there are certain words which are grouped together and you give an emphasis on certain word and the meaning changes. I just want each and every one of you to focus on what I'm telling you. Now, the emphasis was on that word focus. So, my dear friends, paralinguistics also plays a vital role when you're talking, when you're communicating to people. So, it's not only just an intonation, the emphasis. Even this past, what happened to you now? You people might have been just checking up what happened. Is there some hanging? Went hang? The video got hanged. Maybe some setting problems. You started focusing on. Even if you had not been focusing on my video now, the past that I had given you made you come back and see what is happening. Even this is one of the paralinguistics. The speed. Even the speed matters a lot. The way you speak, the speed, at the pace you go. You cannot go on speaking like a kind of at a very high speed. People may not be able to hear you. People may not be able to get what you are trying to speak. Even the pace and the speed matters a lot when you want to communicate better. So communication, when you are talking about communication, when you are talking about paralinguistics, even the space at which you speak each and every word, where you stop, where you give a pass, matters a lot. So, my dear friends, even the punctuation, grouping of words also matters. For example, when I say, the collector said that the teacher is a fool. The collector said the teacher is a fool. These two sentences, when I talk about the collector said the teacher is a fool, the collector said the teacher is a fool. Grouping of words, the punctuations changes the total meaning. In the first one, the collector said the teacher is a fool. Obviously, collector said the teacher is a fool. The collector said the teacher is a fool. Here, the collector said the teacher. Teacher is saying the collector is a fool. So, there is a change in the total meaning itself. So, punctuation plays a vital role. So, these are the part of paralinguistics. Anyhow, this is a kind of an introductory one where we are just focusing on a broad perspective what it means. So paralinguistics plays a vital role in a communication of communication skills, a transfer of an information from one person to the other. If I am not using any kind of a paralinguistics, I am just using only the words in a very, very monotonous way, the desired meaning or desired information cannot be transferred to the other person. The other one, see, these are all the important areas of communication skills. I'll be talking about the remote communication a bit later. There is something also apart from paralinguistics, which is of 38% of that total 93% of nonverbal communication. The other part is body language. We know each and everyone knows about body language, the importance of body language, the gestures, postures, eye contact, facial expressions, handshakes. There are so many things in the eye contact. There are so many things in body language. So even your body can communicate what you want to communicate even without even uttering a single word. For example, a person is coming late. I'm a director of a group of colleges. I'm just standing there. He is late. He knows that he is caught. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. The kind of an expression that he gave, is he wishing me good morning, sir? Good morning, sir. And I am just standing there. Just a note. What it means. What have you been doing outside there? You are already late. Or take another example. I am on leave. I am going to PVR to watch a movie. A person just standing in front of me to get a ticket. He takes the ticket and comes back and turns. He looks at me and I look at him. And unfortunately, it's a working day. And the person who took the ticket just in front of me happens to be my student. What will he do? He'll just look at me. Sir, good morning, sir. Then my reaction? Good morning. What this word good morning means here? It means it's not let this morning be a very good morning to you all. No, it means something else. What are you doing here? You have not gone to college today? Have you applied for leave? And you have come here for watching movie. And that too with a few of your friends. Where are they? So, it changes the total meaning itself, the body language. The word which is being used is good morning, but the impression, the implication of the word is entirely different. So many things. So the way you speak, the facial expressions with which you speak, the kind of a posture you sit and speak to a person, the way you speak to a person. So all these things impacts your communication skill. So this is a physical communication skill, one to one or one to a group or something, a physical one we are talking about. What do you mean by remote communication skills? COVID-19 has put us in a very, very terrible condition now. Each and every one of our life is being conditioned by COVID-19. The same way, recruitment also has undergone a sea change. Earlier, what happens? People used to come to your campus. For example, when Accenture, Capgemini, Cognizant, all these companies come to our campus for recruitment, they come with around some 20, 25 people for recruitment. First, they conduct the online test. The people, those who clear the online test, are put through the technical round of interviews, 1, 2, and there is a HR round of interview afterwards. And all these interviews happen on a physical realm. They are physically there. You are there in front of them. Once you clear the online test, you are there in front of the panel for the technical interview. A person asks you a question and you start answering. And we had been training people how to be confident facing the interviewer, how to communicate better facing the interviewer. Now, all these things have gone to virtual mode. What do you mean by virtual mode? You might be just interacting with your mobile phone, looking at through Zoom or Skype or Google Meet or whatever it is, the means of interviewing. It has become so virtual. Even in virtual, you will be interacting with two people. One is the artificial intelligence involved in that system, which evaluates you also parallelly, and the human being, the interviewer. Interviewer, and there also you have two types. One, interviewing on a live video mode. You can see the interviewer looking at you, speaking to you. There are certain people who put their videos, they don't stream their videos, they block their videos. You can only hear the voice of a person. But when you are able to hear only the voice, but they will be in a position to see what you are doing from the other end. So it gives you a kind of a it puts you into a kind of a secluded space where you talk only to your computer or only to your laptop, or you are talking only to your phone. The person is not seen and you don't know. At least there is a difference. I just wanted to reiterate the difference between the physical and the virtual one. What happens in the physical? The interviewer is there in front of you. When he is posing you a question, you are able to see his facial expressions. Is he, when you're explaining things, you can understand looking at his facial expressions, his body language, whether he is interested or is he accepting what you are saying as right. Just evaluating the person's facial expression. See, for example, you are saying something and the person is saying, yeah, yes, yeah. Then what happens? So these are the kind of a cues, facial expression cues, for which from which you can understand that what you are trying to say is being acknowledged. On the other hand, just evaluate. In case the person is there on a virtual mode and he has not streamed, he has blocked his video streaming, and you are able to hear only the voice, his voice, and you don't know whatever you are trying to communicate, is it reaching him 100%? You don't know. Maybe you might get the cues from the voice also, the way he responds, yes, okay, but you may not be in a kind of a situation from your side how to communicate better. You are not getting the kind of a response evaluating that you evaluate from his face, the kind of a cues, facial expression cues that he gives when he is there on a physical ground, the total body language, the way he approaches you, the way he responds to your speech or your expressions or your explanations, the kind of an information you are giving, and you as a person, the sender of information, you may not be in a position to evaluate the communication that you are having is fruitful or not. This puts you into a kind of a situation where your communication becomes a kind of the communication skill becomes a kind of not that effective. So this is called remote communication. In the remote communication, the problems that you face is more in greater number than in physical, the direct interaction that you have with anybody. So, my dears, what are the kind of aspects that you need to focus on? It is nothing. The basic communication skills needs to be developed furthermore to address to the problems the remote communication poses. You need to better. So in the next one, this is the only an introductory video that I am going to give today. This is the kind of an introduction. What do you hear in this video? What we have learned, what we have seen, what is communication skill and what is remote communication skill? What are the problems that you face in communication skills? And when it comes to remote communication, what are the additional problems that you face? And the meaning of communication. What is the meaning of communication? What is the part played by verbal and non-verbal? These are the things that we have seen in this video as a kind of an introduction. In the next video, I'll be focusing more into body language. What do you mean by body language? What are the different parameters that we have in body language? What we need to focus on body language to be more effective in our communication skills, maybe more in detail about gestures, postures, especially the eye contact. What do you mean by eye contact in the remote communication? Is it possible to have eye contact in case if it is not physical? What do you mean by eye contact in virtual contest? Then facial expressions. That is also how it is going to be effective in virtual context. Is it possible to have any facial expressions and how to do it? Let's see in the next video. The next video will be released on 11th of this month. Stay tuned and enjoy learning. Thank you.